Assalamu alaikum and good morning. Welcome back to Morning Baraka. After such a long time away, we have missed you all.
Yes, we have, and today is a wonderful Monday morning, and we are super excited to be here because it's also the birthday of Lady Fatima Zahra. Peace and blessings be upon her.
Yes, it's one of my favorite times of the year, and many of you out there are celebrating with family and friends. So please do send in your pictures of the day or any images of the events that you have to the Imam Hussein TV 3 network online. It's Facebook or Twitter. We would absolutely love to hear from you, inshallah.
Yes, and today is as a special day, and we'd love to see what the Muslim community are doing. So please do get in touch with us. This time of year is a great time to reflect and to remember the Ahlul Bayt, peace and blessings be upon them. It was the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, who said, "Whoever harms Fatima has harmed me, and whoever angers her has angered me. Whoever makes her glad has made me glad, and whoever saddens her has made me sad."
A very important hadith that shows how important the Holy Prophet loved his daughter. I'm looking forward to the celebration ahead, and I'm very excited about our lineup today, actually. So, on the show, we have Mustafa Ali in the studio with our very important Holy Quran recitation. Today, he will be reciting the verses from Surah Yasin.
Straight after that, we have Ibrahim Ansari on the couch, daily du'as, which include beautiful recitations and explanations about the Ziyarat of Fatima al-Zahra, salamun alayha.
Peace be upon her. We also have a familiar face, psychotherapist Brother Bilal Ali drops in to discuss stress and how best to handle these situations.
I'm looking forward to that, definitely, inshallah. Today we also have Sister Fahima and Sana in the kitchen with a grilled pepper and tomato salad, and it's all about keeping healthy in the kitchen this morning.
Wow, I'm very much looking forward to that. Sounds lovely. We also have our jurisprudence of fiqh questions and answers, or question and queries answered by Sayyid Mohsin Shah, and the subject today is halal meat and the slaughtering of animals.
Now we're going to Karbala, and we're joining Brother Mustafa, who will give us more details on how to have a ziyarah recited on your behalf.
The holy city of Karbala is home to tragedies, heartbreak, as well as treasures and wonders. Millions from around the world come to this sacred city with their prayers and tears. As well as being home to Imam Hussein Media Group, it's the home and resting place of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and his brother Abu Fadl Abbas alayhum as-salam. Imam Hussein sacrificed his life for the sake of truth and preservation of the religion and teachings of his grandfather Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Imam Baraka says, "Order our Shia to visit the shrine of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, since doing so increases sustenance, extends life, removes evil, and that visiting the grave of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is a duty upon every believer who believes in imamat from Allah Almighty." So we invite you to come to Karbala and come to visit your Imam and perform ziyarah. Unfortunately, not everyone can come visit Imam Hussein. Not everyone has the ability or opportunity to visit regularly, and that's why Morning Baraka is giving you the opportunity to perform ziyarah from your very homes. We want you to send in your du'as and names of your loved ones so we can recite the ziyarah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam on their behalf. Maybe you have a loved one whose name you want to put forward, a marhum who would benefit, or maybe you miss Karbala and yearn to see Imam Hussein, peace and blessings be upon him. Why not send a small message or a dua for us to read here in the holy city of Karbala? Whoever's name you put, whatever dua or small message you have, the Morning Baraka team will pass it on to our team here in Karbala, and we will recite the ziyarah, read the message, and broadcast it on Imam Hussein TV3. Send in your names, du'as, and small messages to Morning Baraka @ ImamHussein.tv, or message us or leave a comment on any of our social media platforms. We look forward to hearing from you, and may Allah and the Ahlul Bayt accept all of our a'mal and our ziyarah, inshallah.
Yes, welcome back. And to kick off the series and the first episode, we are going to be joined by Mustafa Al-Ali for his beautiful recitations of the Holy Quran. Mustafa, it's a pleasure to meet you once again for this brand new series. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
So I believe today you're going to be reciting the verses 77 to 83 of Surah Surah Yasin, and I'm sure that myself and Zara very, very much enjoy your recitations. So please, Bismillah, we look forward to hearing from you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين. وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم. الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون. أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم؟ بلى وهو الخلاق العليم. إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون. فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون. العلي العظيم.
Amazing. Well done, Mustafa Ali. Thank you so much for that recitation. Really, really appreciate your time. And now we're at the part of the show where to kick off our guests, and as you've seen, we're going to be joined by Brother Ibrahim Al-Ansari, who's going to be doing the daily dua segment of the show. It's the first episode, so Brother Ibrahim, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are you today?
Alhamdulillah.
We
How
are.
are you guys doing?
Yeah, we're doing fine.
Good, thank you very much.
We're doing fine. We're very excited to have you on the show.
I'm excited
we
to be
remember
here again.
we remember some good times from
Yeah.
our last series, and so this is the first of many episodes. Inshallah, we're
Alhamdulillah.
going to be joined by some enlightening and invigorating kind of discussions about du'as, ziyaras, and supplications.
Yeah.
Inshallah, to meet your good thoughts, inshallah.
Inshallah, brilliant. So Zahra, today we're going to be focusing on the birth of
Yeah.
Sayyidah Fatima Zahra alayhi salam.
Lady of Light.
And there is a particular part of the dua that you've chosen. So tell us first and foremost, what is the actual dua or the ziyarah that you've chosen,
Yeah.
and the specific parts that we're going to be discussing today.
Inshallah, definitely. First of all, congratulations to you and to the whole Islamic Ummah on the birth anniversary of Fatima Zahra, alayha afdal salatu wassalam. Now, this extract that I chose is actually from the Ziyarah of Fatima Zahra, alayha salam. Now, instead of telling you from which part it is, I actually want to get to that after we recite it, just because I feel like even the exact position of it within the Ziyarah plays a big effect within the status of Fatima Zahra herself as well.
Wow.
So inshallah, if we can get to that after we recite
Yes,
it,
yeah, definitely.
inshallah.
So should we go through
Yeah,
the
let's go.
recitation now? Yeah,
Sure,
please.
inshallah.
Bismillah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد يا ممتحنة امتحنك الله الذي خلقك قبل أن يخلقك فوجدك لما امتحنك صابرا وزعمنا أن لك أولياء ومصدقون وصابرون لكل ما آتانا به أبوك صلى الله عليه وآله وأتى به وصيه فإنا نسألك إن كنا صدقناك إلا ألحقتنا بتصديقنا لهما لنبشر أنفسنا بأننا قد طهرنا بولايتك اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you so much, it's beautiful.
جزاكم الله خير.
So you mentioned that even this particular extract,
Yeah.
in the position of the entire ziyarah,
Yeah.
there is a significance behind that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at this specific extract, usually if I was to look at this extract without having seen the ziyarah before, my guess would be it would be amongst the middle, towards the end, whereas it is in fact the very first lines of the ziyarah, the very, very first lines of the ziyarah.
Really?
And now it is amazing. People might be asking why is that still amazing? It's because when we look at ziyarah, when we recite our salutations to the imams, we usually start with Assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah,
Yeah.
Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, Assalamu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. This one, it goes straight into Ya Mumtahana. And of course, this is narrated from Imam al-Baqir alayhi afdal salatu wassalam. When he comes to speak about his grandmother Fatima Zahra, and before he sends his salams to her, he says, Ya Mumtahana. What is he trying to tell us? There's something very big about this word. There must be something very big about the start that he even put it before his salams upon his grandmother.
Yeah.
When we look at what it truly means, Mumtahana means, O tested one, O trialed one. Now, the moment I think, why would he look at Fatima Zahra as a trialed one? Aren't we all trialed? Do I not
Or
have a
aren't they all
trial? Do you not have a
trialed?
trial?
Yeah.
They're all trialed.
all-
Every single
yeah.
human on earth, part of our life is that we are going through imtihan, through a trial. Then he carries on, Imtihanakillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has trialed you الذي خلقك, the one that created you. Like with the Imams, it's very beautiful how they say their words. They add these lessons, they add these parts of Tawheed, they add these parts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He makes sure that he emphasizes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who created you, created this amazing being. قبل أن يخلقك, before he created you. Now this is one of many parts which show the great states of Fatima al-Zahra, because when the ulama look into this, they say that unlike any single one of us, in fact, let's put all of us to the side. Unlike the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we're all trialed in this world. We are all given our ibtila during this world. Whereas Fatima al-Zahra alayha salatu wasalam, during alam al-Dharr, which is before we were created, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought her to the throne. He said, these are the trials that you will face during your lifetime. Then what does the Imam answer? فَوَجَدَكِ صَابِرًا. He found you patient. So Fatima al-Zahra alayha afdal salatu wasalam, in fact, showed true submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and showed the patience that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is required from the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before she was even created.
So was her trial knowing that these were her trials in this world, or did she have other trials there?
No, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told her, Fatima, when you are going to be created, from day one until the day that you pass away, until the day that you meet me again, these are the trials that you will be facing. Okay. And she was patient. So for example, with us, when we go through specific trials, if we are lacking, for example, our financial status is low during a specific time, we go through a trial of losing a loved one, your father,
illness,
your mother.
Lots of things that we
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us to be patient, to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every single way possible. Fatima al-Zahra did this before she was created. So it is one of many things that show her great status.
The quality, isn't it? Because I think as human beings, if we were told that, even next week, this could happen to you, most people would be like, panicking, losing their patience, because, to understand that you could go through something. Because in the depth of a trial, it is very difficult. So subhanAllah, how she, even at that point, before she was brought to this world, she knew about it, and she took it with patience. That's quite, it gives the like you said, the reason behind why they are who they are. Because how many human beings creation can be patient in that time?
Definitely.
It's also very interesting because you mentioned Imam Baraka alayhi salam, even before he even addressed Fatima Zahra, would always say Ya Mumtahana. And I know it's the birth of Fatima Zahra, but we can't excuse or leave to the side the amount of tribulations or trials that she went. So it is definitely very, very, very interesting that the entire Ziyarat starts with Ya Mumtahana.
And only after this, and قَدْ طَهُرْنَا بِوِلَايَتِكَ, only after that does he send his salams to his grandmother Fatima al-Zahra.
So going from the beginning,
do
you want to continue sort of explaining which extract you've actually, the part that you've recited now? So how, the translation for people.
So after that, after he says فَوَجَدَكِ لِمَا امْتَحَنَكِ صَابِرًا, he found you patient, he carries on to say وَزَعَمْنَا أَنَّا لَكِ أَوْلِيَاء وَمُصَدِّقُونَ وَصَابِرُونَ لِكُلِّ مَا آتَانَا بِهِ أَبُوكِ صلى الله عليه وآله وأتى به وصية. And we claim to follow and to be patient and to believe in everything that your father and his wasi, so Imam Ali, brought towards us. So this is a claim that we make. Then he carries on with a dua. فَإِنَّا نَسْأَلُكِ إِن كُنَّا صَدَّقْنَاكِ. We ask you, if we have truly believed in you, إِلَّا أَلْحَقْتِنَا بِتَصْدِيقِنَا لَهُمَا لِنُبَشِّرَ أَنفُسَنَا بِأَنَّا قَدْ طَهُرْنَا بِوِلَايَتِكِ. That you include us amongst those who believed in the Prophet and Imam Ali, so that we may give ourselves glad tidings that we have become pure in your wilayah. Realize, in your wilayah. Not in the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, not in the wilayah of Rasulullah, in your wilayah. And in this specific thing where he says your wilayah, I find many amazing things when I look at the way Fatima al-Zahra was addressed, even in Hadith al-Kisa, for example. When Jibreel asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he says to him, "Oh Allah, waman tahta al-Kisa?" Who is under the cloak? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replies, "Fatimatu wa abuha, wa ba'luha wa banuha." Fatima and her father, and her Fatima and her husband, Fatima and her children. Now we know that usually in any language, if someone wants to address, if I want to say, for example, in a specific gathering, who is there, I would start either with the eldest or with the one with the greatest status. So for example, a scholar. And who is of a bigger status than Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? And he was the eldest in that gathering as well. Rather, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, not the Imam, this is even higher than the Imam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to everyone who was in that household during that time in relation to Fatima al-Zahra.
We have just a couple of minutes left. I just want to, for the benefit of the viewers, the Ziyarat of Fatima al-Zahra, where can we find it? When should we recite it? Any particular day, event? How can we?
Now, as for Ziyarat al-Zahra, usually these ziyarats are found in Mafatih al-Jinan, a book, very beautiful book. It has gathered all the ziyarat and the ad'iyah, or most of the ziyarat and ad'iyah, I'd say. And it is of course found there. In terms of when to recite it, sending your salams to the Ma'soomeen is always beautiful. On any day of the week, any hour of the day. However, of course, it has greater blessings. It is more appropriate to recite it, for example, on her birth occasion. So on her birth, I will visit Fatima al-Zahra. On her death anniversary, and of course we have 3 different narrations for that. So in every narration, let's try to get closer to Fatima al-Zahra. And for me personally, I have a special connection with Fatima al-Zahra alayha salatu wassalam. So personally, I am always trying to recite my salams towards Fatima al-Zahra and asking for her aid during every step.
She's a beautiful personality, and again, we often don't do justice to these personalities because we think about, immediately Fadak and things like that, which obviously are not, they're pivotal examples in our history, but her personality on its own is just amazing, and it's beautiful that you have a connection with her, because I know when you talk to people, they have a member of Ahlul Bayt, I feel a connection with them. So the fact it's with Lady of Light for you, it's very beautiful. But thank you so much. We could still talk. There's a few more things I wanted to actually speak about. The fact that the beginning of the title is the trialed one, and how that impacts in our lives. But we've run out of time, I think. So maybe another time we can talk about that. But thank you so much, as ever. And inshallah, we look forward to seeing you in future mornings.
Inshallah, likewise.
Have a blessed day.
Ibrahim, thank you so much for your time. So now we're going to be on to the second part of the show. As you know, Zahra is going to be joined by Brother Bilal for the specialist segment, and that will be after the break. Stay tuned.
Imam Hussein Media Group is a virtual university that works on a global scale to spread the true message of the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt's peace and blessings be upon them. Imam Hussein TV was established 10 years ago in the city of Isfahan, Iran. We work to cover all aspects of religion, Islamic jurisprudence, politics, philosophy, and many more, and aim to bring the public's attention to the righteous Islamic sect, Shia Islam. Our ultimate goal as a media group is to convey the interpretations of the Holy Quran, as well as the traditions and knowledge of the Holy Prophet and his progeny. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon them. Our objectives are to protect and safeguard the Shia youth from the destructive impact of immoral ideologies, standing up against injustice by documenting the oppression of Shia across the globe, as well as encouraging peace and unity amongst the Muslims. To reach our aims and serve the Muslim Ummah, we require a budget that would cover all the expenses for our productions, allowing us to work on different projects. Imam Hussein Media Group is a crowd-funded project. We have no sales nor do we charge for our services. we solely rely on monthly payments, financial contributions, donations, religious alms, and generous gifts. The expenses of each production varies depending on the type of project and the style of filming. There are many elements to a production that requires time and capital. The producer must analyze the costs of the venue hire, equipment, transport, feature fees, set design, staff support, and further additional costs. The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him and his family, narrated, "The best of people is he from whom people benefit." It is up to you to help the Muslim Ummah come together and help guide the youth in remaining on the correct path of Islam. To take part in this global conquest and to spread the message of Imam Hussein, peace and blessings be upon him, please visit www.imamhussein3.tv or give us a call on +44 0203 515 0199. You can also contact us via WhatsApp, Telegram, SMS, or even email us on donate@imamhussein.tv. Let's work together hand in hand to elevate the faith of our Shia youth today.
Welcome back, dear viewers of Imam Hussein TV. I hope you're having a wonderful morning joining us this morning. The daily du'as, as ever, beautiful. We were discussing the Ziyarat of Fatima al-Zahra, salamun alayha, so I hope you benefited from that. I personally did. And now we're going to be introducing and welcoming our next special guest on The Specialist. You may recognize him from our previous seasons, Brother Bilal Ali, which is a bit odd because now I'm going to be interviewing him and we're having a discussion about various topics relating to our everyday lives, things like stress, managing things, and that's our particular topic today. But in the future days, we'll also be looking into other topics. So with that, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Ali.
Salam, how are you doing, sister? You okay?
Alhamdulillah, good, thank you, brother. How are you doing?
It's a pleasure to be here. A bit unusual in this seat,
good,
but
yeah.
all the same, it's good. It's good.
It's good. Well, when we used to film together as presenters, I know that you have a wealth of knowledge to do with, your background, and obviously you can explain perhaps to our viewers what you specialise in before we get into the topics. But it's nice to be able to hear your sort of input and expertise on topics such as stress, and we'll be going into things of how food affects us in the future mornings and other very interesting topics. So, just briefly, what's your sort of background?
I know a little stuff, not a wealth of knowledge, no pressure. But yeah, my background is in mental health. So I am a psychotherapist and a trained counsellor as well. And I've practiced various psychological models of talking therapy. But mainly what is rational emotive behavior therapy, but more commonly known as CBT, a branch of CBT. Excellent. And also existential talking therapy as well.
Okay, so we'll be hopefully delving into that brain of yours and getting some information, hopefully can help our viewers. So today this morning we're going to be speaking about stress. It seems that it's something that coherently is impacting most of us in our daily lives. We're becoming busier. Our lives are packed with activities and responsibilities, and really the wind down of managing that stress, or knowing how to manage it, and even how to recognize stress. It's not something that it will come naturally to a lot of us. So if I was to ask you, what is stress, and how would you recognize what the symptoms are within yourself?
So what is stress? We could describe stress as not being able to cope, or not coping in a healthy way in terms of our life responsibilities and our life duties, and just in terms of our daily living. Okay. We have this table in front of us, and it's bearing some beautiful fruit, which is of a weight that is okay for the table to sustain. Yeah. However, if we were to put objects of a heavier nature, a kettlebell, maybe 10 kilo kettlebell, or 100 kilos of weight or something of that nature, it may start to bow, may start to show the signs of stress towards cracking. And that's what happens to us as human beings. As an analogy, that we show the signs, but we don't bowl as a table does. But we can also break, as we say, when stress is absolutely too much. We have broken human beings in one respect, in terms of emotionally, psychologically, cognitively. People do break, or people show stress.
Understandably, because again, we are expected to just cope, aren't we, and carry on with life's you know,
Demands.
and then at any time trauma can come into our life. So how would somebody recognize, so that table, you know, it's such an obvious thing, it would break, you know, that would not counter the, you know, the additional weight on it. But as human beings, we're quite resilient, and we can be quite resilient to understanding our own emotions and how we portray stress. So we could even deny it to ourselves, like, no, I'm fine. How would somebody be able to recognize in themselves that perhaps I need some help here, or I need to understand what I'm going through?
Okay, so let's go back a step. Let's use another metaphor, another analogy. There's the idea of a stress cup that everybody has. And so there's normal challenges, normal problems, normal responsibilities, like living conditions, if you will, depending on the type of lifestyle that we have. Some people have more triggers or more events that could cause or lead somebody's stress cup to become that bit more full, and that bit more full, and that bit more full. Now, what we naturally have as human beings, religious people, people who are non-religious, but just as human beings in general, we have different ways that we relieve stress. Some are more questionable than others in terms of some people using, you know, various substances to relieve stress, which is another subject for the 21st century, which is arising, which is causing more problems. But let's just think of a Muslim person, for example, a religious person, that they may feel stressed. They may turn to the Book of Allah and, you know, read particular passages from the Quran to try and ease their psychological state, ease their heart, because we think of the Quran as a medicine. Some people may exercise. Some people may choose to share the negative experience they had with a loved one or you know, a trusted confidant, and then these type of practices reduce the stress in that cup. But what happens is sometimes people either don't find an effective outlet to reduce that thing that is filling the cup. So it's almost a support network. Yes, exactly that. A coping mechanism, coping strategy, support network. Or sometimes the event is of that magnitude, a major life event, that the person's stress cup may full up and overflow, and then they're unable to function cohesively. You know, they're unable to live that productive life. In fact, they may go into, for want of a better term, like regressive or unproductive, you know, kind of self.
Okay, so you're saying that basically anything could happen at any point, and when the cup, almost another analogy is that when the cup starts to fill up and overflow,
that means that's a sign of you not coping.
We need to step back at that point and then just sort of see how we can recede that level of water, like sort of if the cup has water in it.
What it is about self-awareness.
Yeah.
Because the question is, do people know their triggers? Do people know when they're not coping? For example, because in many cultures, for example, not to make everything about gender, but in terms of masculinity, as men, we're taught throughout various cultures that, you know, regardless of the difficulties, we suck it up, we get on with it. And to kind of acknowledge our vulnerability is a sign of weakness. So we can sometimes go into denial. So you find somebody having a major problem in their marriage, stress cup gets a bit more full. There's a major event at work, maybe the possibility of redundancy or having to take a post either far away, which means more travel, less time from the home, or at less pay, and we're already struggling or finding challenges financially. So then that fills the stress cup that bit more. What happens is that the person doesn't seek intervention and trust with somebody that they can offload this stress, for example, or find a healthy avenue if, for example, they decide to bottle it up and just get on with it. But then at night they're sleeping less, or they're experiencing broken sleep, or instead of their normal between 6 and 8 hours, which is recommended, for example, by the NHS, they start to sleep maybe 2-3 hours. But, you know, they barely fall asleep at night, and by the time they fall asleep, it's time to get up, or their sleep is continuously broken because they're ruminating and chewing over and mulling over these different stressful events and factors in their life. Now, that lack of sleep, there's nothing, in terms of the top of the list, in terms of what can unsettle a human being, is like poor sleep pattern or lack of sleep. So poor sleep pattern is a sign for many people, I'm not sleeping well.
Right.
But also it can be another cause of compounding the stress. So it might not be an original issue, but it can be that sign, but also a trigger for more filling of the cup, so to speak.
Okay, so that's one recognizable effect of stress. What are the other things that are quite common that you come across in people?
Common things that I come across in my practice in my clinic is, for example, people having physical pains or conditions, but they've been, for example, checked out by their medic, their GP, and there's no physical reason why they'll be, for example, experiencing these type of back pains or type of shoulder pains or things of that nature. So in terms of physical aches and pains, people can even get stomach ulcers in extreme cases, but that are triggered by stress. In extreme cases, loss of hair. Just people, poor skin, people break out in hives, or if they have, let's say, tender skin. A susceptible thing is, I'm not sleeping when I've got these spots in my face, or not that they're breaking down in the extremest of sense, but these are like telltale signs that they're really under pressure. People can become low in mood. It can affect their self-esteem, irritability. So when probably most of us can recognize this if we look back in our life at times when we didn't maybe know it at the time, but we recognize, wow, I must have been pretty stressed, because we would snap at things and react negatively,
not
and
yourself,
out of sorts. So because the cup is nearly full, it's what do they say, the straw that broke the camel's back. So it's just the thing that normally the children usually come in and ask, can we watch a particular program or whatever, and you find yourself reacting with hostility to the children, or snappy with your partner or the people closest to you, customers if you work in the public sector, whatever it is. These are kind of signs that something under the surface is starting to come to the surface, but there's probably an issue going on.
That's quite. So, for instance, you could have various, like you're saying, a stomach ulcer would be diagnosed by a specialist, but in terms of, you could feel the symptoms, you could feel the aches and pains, not understand the low mood, and that's quite worrying, because that would impact your daily life, wouldn't it? On top of the worry that you already have that has triggered these side effects. But I think what's concerning about stress is that it can come in so many different ways, can't it? It can emerge in a person. So, for instance, they're all pretty much physical ailments that may not have a direct diagnosis. As in, you could have IBS, you could have an ulcer.
The stomach is a major place.
What about things like the impact on mental health, or the fact that if it's impacted somebody and that mean, like, spiritually, if their mood affects their faith, for instance, how would you say that? Do you see examples like that as well in your clinic?
Yeah, I mean, it can work two ways, because for some people, the human being is such a subjective creature, if I can put it that way, where there are common things which we can see as common stressors. A breakup of marriage, a bereavement, loss of a job. Money is a big stressor in the 21st century. I say 21st century, probably in the 20th or the 8th, but in terms of resources, in terms of survival, in terms of maintaining your station, money is a big issue. But essentially, there are common stressors, but we're so subjective in terms of our interpretation of life, or because of the makeup, because of our psychological makeup, how we've been brought up, the kind of life events that we've been exposed to, our ability to solve problems, so our kind of psychosocial resources in terms of dealing with difficulties is quite subjective. But as I said, money, relationships, bereavement, those are some of the more common ones,
Just quickly, because I think we've just got under a minute left, but what would you say to somebody who recognises some of these ailments you've said, and, the signs? What would you recommend as a practitioner what would people start?
Recommendation, if somebody's feeling stressed, I think that there are, there's articles on the, or there are apps available. There's information online in terms of, for the more younger people, in terms of there's apps to do with like things like mindfulness and coping with stress. For people who are not so, app and electronically orientated, I'm saying that it's good to speak to somebody that you trust, just as a confidant. If you feel like it's a bigger or deeper issue, seek professional help in terms of maybe your GP could be one of your first ports of call. To see if you can be referred for, say, talking therapy, for counselling, or even just self-help literature that's available as well, in terms of like books. that you can go through various
Yeah.
things to, you know, coping mechanisms, exercise, watching what you eat,
Yeah.
being particular about your sleep, taking time out
Focusing on-
for rest and
yeah.
to internalize. I know that the salah is supposed to,
Yeah.
ideally, it's supposed to provide that for us, but sometimes stress can knock us off of our deen.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
it's
so-
okay, isn't it? Because even these remedies that you're saying, they're
Mm-hmm.
part of, you know, the help that we have, you know, through theories and evidence, and
Yeah.
they are a part of that supportive network to get you back onto your
Absolutely,
feet. And it's
absolutely.
no harm or a shame to actually approach those remedies. So, but thank you so much. I think we're out of time now.
Wow, that's quick. Always a
flown-
pleasure, though. Always a pleasure.
No,
something
thank you
like
so
that.
much, and I hope that the one lesson people do take away from what you've said and the remedies is that not to ignore the signs of stress and to really deal with it before the cup is really overflowing and,
For sure.
and things get worse. So inshallah we'll see you another morning. Have a blessed day.
Inshallah, thanks.
And now we are going to go and see what Fahima and Sana are cooking in the kitchen.
Are you in court for raping English girls? Remember? You're here defending the paedophile. I'm here defending your dad. These women are here defending the paedophile. You're here defending.
We don't need a TV channel because we've got mosques.
We have Islamic centres that are always open.
We have schools teaching Islam.
Hijab is part of a school uniform.
Islam has come and it's established here in the West.
And everyone's happy. They love us, our food, our fashion.
Our culture.
The media is always on our side.
We've got plenty of English speakers, plenty of English books.
And plenty of places to go and learn in the English language.
Let's be real.
Let's get active. Be more involved. www.imamhusseinfree.tv.
Thank you, Zahra. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Morning Baraka. And in this segment, we're going to be discussing health and nutrition. And here with me is Sana. Welcome, Sana.
Thank you, Fahima.
And we're going to be talking about Middle Eastern food, but hopefully bringing it in a healthy way of eating. So what have you got for us today in our first?
So today I'm going to be making a grilled pepper and tomato salad.
Okay, I haven't heard of that before.
It's not something you really think about when you're making salad, but it's a traditional Moroccan salad that we have.
Interesting.
And it's very tasty and really quick and easy to make.
Okay, so tell us about the ingredients that you use.
So we're going to be using some red peppers, yellow peppers, green peppers, and some tomatoes. They've all been grilled. So before, obviously, we will grill them. You can grill them in the oven. Traditionally, they would put it on the fire stove and let it go all black, and then you would put it in a bag and seal the bag and let it sweat. And then when it sweats, the skins will come off easily.
So let's see you prepare this.
So let's prepare, yeah.
Well, these are interesting ingredients, and I know that peppers generally are very rich in vitamin C's, and it also contains a lot of water. It's like 92% water, which is really, really healthy for us. I mean, a lot of the times we don't realize how much we need to hydrate ourselves, how much we need to keep, because our brain actually contains majority water. And a lot of people don't understand this fact. We always say we have to have a lot of water, and it's for a reason, because there is a function that we have to maintain in our body. And being hydrated constantly, you know, sometimes we forget. So having these ingredients that contain the extra water, and in this general, you know, salad, there's no lettuce which normally has water.
Exactly.
So the green peppers or the red, and you know which ones you're using, they actually do contain quite a lot of water.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, it depends on what you would like to use. You can use just one colour, or you can mix like we're doing today. I prefer to mix because I just think it makes the salad look a lot more bright and vibrant, and it just looks a lot more, you know, attractive to the eye when you're looking at it. But it is something that we use a lot in Morocco, and it's something that, like I said, it's very quick, it's tasty, and we're going to be mixing, you know, a lot of other things in there, like the parsley and the coriander and the olive oil, which will also give it that additional taste.
You've got even health benefits of green peppers, which it basically reduces sort of several chronic diseases, and even not just taking into consideration the health benefits from normal studies that have done, even in Islam, when Imam Ali alayhi salam says that its type of taqwa is to actually take care of your health.
Yeah.
Not just, spiritually, but physically. And this type also can help you prevent any sort of diseases. And so we need to take more interest in what we eat. And I know even when I coach clients, even though I'm not a nutritionist, I do take a lot of interest as to how clients' diet works. Because even though I work with the mind, we have a lot of foods nowadays that actually make a difference to your mood. There are foods for your mood. It can increase or decrease stress or anxiety. It can help with your, mental, ability to give you more boost. And all of these ingredients that we're going to use hopefully throughout the show is going to give us that insight and awareness. And what I also think is really important is that we want to stick to sometimes our own culture food, which is, we always think that if we're going to diet, we're going to be healthy. We cannot do that with our own food, but we actually can.
Exactly, yeah.
It's really important that, we highlight that when we use these ingredients, this is from our, the cultures and the backgrounds that we're used to, and we can actually use it to our benefit.
Exactly, we can adjust it. So for example,
Absolutely.
where, sometimes they would fry this in oil.
Yes.
So you can think, you know what, I want to be a bit more healthier today. So instead of frying it, put it in the oven and grill it. So the taste, obviously, we do know when something is fried, it does taste a lot better, but it's not much of a...
That's individual choice, really.
It's not much of a big difference, really, because you're still getting the benefits and the taste.
Absolutely.
So, like
so remind me again, so how did you prepare this?
So with the peppers and the tomatoes, I grilled them, and once they went quite dark, I placed them in a bag, and I allowed them to sweat for about 10 minutes.
Okay.
And once I did that, I took them out, and then I peeled the skin off the outside, which was the good tip with the bag is that it's a lot easier to take it off.
Okay.
So it will be a bit messy, so I would advise to do it in the sink. And also,
I even see you using gloves at the moment, which would you normally use at home?
Well, not all the time, but because we want to promote, health and to keep
hygiene.
Exactly, to keep hygiene in mind as well. So it's quite important to do that. So now what I've done is, I haven't used all of it because I don't think we need it.
Yes.
But I've just chopped a bit of each, and now what I'm going to add is a mixture of just a bunch. Obviously, again, it depends on what you like and your taste buds.
Yeah, of course.
If you prefer to put more in, it's up to you.
So what herb is that? Have you got in there?
So this is a mixture of both parsley and coriander in
I
here.
love parsley in my salad. It actually makes such a difference.
It's lovely, and the fragrance of it is so nice.
Absolutely. It adds colour, taste, and it is really another part of your healthy plan.
Exactly.
To add, because a lot of the times we might put it on certain foods just as a garnish, but we can take advantage of having more if you add it to the salad.
Exactly, yeah. And again, with this, you can chop it as fine as you want. I prefer to do it a bit more finer. Some people like to just put it in completely off the leaf and mix it in. Again, it's down to your own individual choice of how you prefer. Now, another thing that I'm going to put in there is olive oil. I put a tablespoon of olive oil.
Okay, olive oil. It's really, really good for the health, and it can lower cholesterol. So I think it's really, really advisable that we should use more olive oil in our cooking generally.
Yes, exactly. I mean, in Morocco, traditionally, we always use olive oil for most of our cookings. We hardly use sunflower.
Even in normal foods?
Normal foods. So, in our stews, in our curries, any of these things, we would always use olive oil, mainly vegetable and sunflower oil if we're frying like potatoes or chips or these things, we would use it. But olive oil is pretty much used in most of our cooking. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really good. It normalizes blood clotting, and it can prevent sort of high blood pressure. We don't realize these ingredients are so important.
Exactly.
SubhanAllah, these ingredients are natural, and they are so good for us. And even, we always think that we have to live a healthy life just by thinking in a particular way, but actually our body and our mind has to work hand in hand. And it's really important that we understand, a lot more about food and how we can actually use that to our benefit and even still enjoy what we normally used to.
Exactly, yeah.
That looks amazing, by the way.
Yeah, no, we just need to season it, and it's with a bit of basic seasoning, really, just salt and pepper. And I would put in here about a teaspoon.
I love balsamic vinegar, but because you've put the olive oil, the salt, and you've got the parsley, I mean, it is a choice to put lemon or balsamic vinegar. That's an extra, or do you think because you're having this as a side, does that make a
You
difference?
could do. It depends. I mean, it would probably be very tasty with the vinegar and some lemon juice. But this is how we traditionally make it. So you can add if you.
How do you have it alongside what particular food?
So we would have this as traditionally on a table. We would have the main meal in the middle.
Okay.
So whether that will be like a chicken tagine or a lamb tagine, and around the actual main meal will be little plates of these salads.
Okay.
And so, and each plate would have a spoon.
Perfect.
So each person around the table would have their own salad.
Their own portion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why we're not making a lot, because it's not something that you don't make huge amounts.
I was going to say,
small portions.
Yeah, I wanted a big bowl.
And again, obviously, you can choose to have it, you know, on its own. If you don't want to have it with a meal, it's, you know, you don't need to have it with something.
If you just want a quick snack, it's really healthy and it's quite hydrating and it's really colourful and tasty. I'm just looking at it, I can't wait to taste it.
Yes, and it smells very nice,
It
isn't
smells
it?
amazing, especially when you've roasted it, like and grilled it like you have. It's just so beautiful. If anyone can, you know, smell it, it's really, really lovely.
And I'm going to also add, obviously, again, this is based to your own tasting.
Yeah, of course. Black pepper?
I don't like too much black pepper, so I'll put about half a teaspoon, or even less, about a quarter. And then that's everything. Okay.
So I see we've also got some lovely bread here as well.
Nice.
Is that something that you normally have, or is it like rice normally with the meal, or do you have both?
No, we actually traditionally have bread. So all of our dishes, even our curries, our stews, our tagines, they're all with bread, fresh bread. So even salads, we have them with bread. Yes.
Okay.
And traditionally they would eat it with the salad with their fingers, because you know, like as part of the sunnah, is they say it's good to eat with the
with your hand.
With your hands,
yes,
because
as the Prophet, peace be upon him, did.
Exactly. Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now serve it. I'll just move this out of the way.
Let me help you there a bit.
Put that behind here. Okay.
Eagerly waiting.
Now, again, I said it's very basic, it's very simple. Anyone can make it at home really quickly. And most of us have these ingredients in the fridge.
Well, to be fair, like I said, it's not the traditional salad. And I think it's really healthy to have a different way of having salad, which includes different ingredients which actually have more health benefits than the usual salad.
Yeah.
And again, this could be a little bit more filling, because you can have the salad alongside bread.
Yeah.
And as that, even as a lunch meal, I personally would have that as a quick lunch, you know, snack if I was really busy and didn't have time to prepare and make anything, or even to take that away, because I don't know, you mentioned before you could have that hot or cold.
Exactly, yeah. So this one is a cold one, but if you would like to make it hot, similar things that we've just done, but we would put it on a pan and put a little bit of, again, olive oil in the pan. But this time we would add just a little bit of onions, a bit of garlic, and then put all the ingredients inside, allow it to just kind of simmer and absorb all of the flavours, the salt, the pepper, and also the parsley, and it will become a little bit more mushy.
Yeah, softer.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's even easier to eat with bread. So sometimes it could become almost like a little stew.
Yeah.
And you can have it with bread or even with a spoon on its own.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's two ways. This is the cold version, and the warm. They're both very tasty, so you can give it a go. And
do you find that having this sort of ingredients, especially with children, do you find that they can easily, you know, take that? Because it's very difficult to have children eat these types of vegetables and greens, for example.
It's true. You know what? One of the things that you can do is, now not all children like fresh peppers. They will prefer it grilled, or vice versa.
Yes,
they would like it the other way.
Yeah.
So for example, one of the things that I've noticed is that my daughter prefers it if it's grilled. So she enjoys it like that. If I was to give it to her fresh, she'd be like, I'm not really.
It's a different texture and different taste.
Exactly.
And it's easier to have it in that sort of form. And just looking at it, it looks absolutely delicious.
Yes.
And the crunchiness, I guess, you know, again, you said it's a personal sort of taste.
It is, yeah, exactly. And like I said, it's not for everyone, but you can give it a try. It's very easy. It's not the normal salad that we would have with lettuce and cucumber.
Which is what I love, because it's nice to have something different. And again, it is traditional. It comes from, you know, what we would normally have, you know, in our cultures and backgrounds, but at the same time, we use it for our own health benefits, to improve our way of living and being. And we don't realize that, you know, what we have and what we intake in our body makes such a difference to our everyday dealings.
Yeah.
So this is why it's really important that we learn so much about what we have generally. So anyway, I'm just going to tuck in
yes,
quickly.
Yes, go ahead.
I can't wait. Just trying to try this. A bit of parsley as well. Mmm. Mmm.
It's quite refreshing.
That is so delicious.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I love vegetables anyway, so oh my God.
It's probably nicer as well when you put it in the fridge and let it get a little bit cooler.
But I love it. And the thing is, and just on its own, not even having any bread alongside it.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing plate just to have with, you know, like I said, as a takeaway meal that you just, you know, in a rush. And if it was, you know, for the next day, if you're going to work, it's just perfect.
If you have guests as well, it's also something that's really easy and quick to make. Because, you know, when you have guests over, you always think, what can I serve with the main meal? This could be something that you could do at home. It's quick and easy, and it's something new that you can, you know, show to your visitors at home.
That's amazing. Well, thank you, Sana. That was really interesting, and hopefully, you know, the audience have sort of gained a little bit more awareness of some of these ingredients and this recipe. And I hope you will use this in your home and enjoy. Thank you for watching, and inshallah, we'll see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.
So we're now at part of the segment, which is kind of half of my favorite part, because I think these miscellaneous issues that we can speak about that aren't really discussed at length.
Yeah.
And I think today we are discussing the slaughtering of animals, which is great. And of course, we're going to be welcomed by Sayyid Mohsin Shah. Thank you very much for your time. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And how are you, Sayyid?
I'm very well on this lovely morning here in London.
It is.
I've got the river behind me, so nice. And
cold London.
Indeed.
It is cold.
It's home, it's home.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we had you in our previous morning, Baraka. We very much enjoyed your presence there, and I very much, as the first episode, I look forward to the remainder of our time with you.
Yeah, well, we'll be picking your brains for lots of topics.
Yes,
I'll do my best.
And so today we were thinking, well, we were going to discuss about slaughtering and halal meat.
Yes.
And we're quite fortunate, aren't we, here in the UK, especially in London and then around the UK, plenty of you know, outlets for purchasing. So what are the laws around halal and you know, what's?
I guess there's a criteria, don't we? That we have to. There's like a stringent criteria for it to be verified as halal.
Yes.
Can't just go to a supermarket and pick up.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, as Zahra said, we're quite fortunate in the sense that there are many outlets that follow a certain criteria. But from your perspective, in terms of the Risala Amaliya of Sayyid Sadiq Shirazi, what's the criteria for meat to be halal, Sayyid?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Yeah, like you said, halal meat, alhamdulillah, is in here in the West, especially here in London, readily available. Different sort of cuisines from different backgrounds, all halal meat, and including very, very famous restaurant chains, if not a lot of chains.
You mean non-Muslim chains, right?
Exactly, non-Muslim chains, which, you know, we go to on a regular basis. But then also you'll be surprised that other chains, which people didn't think would have halal meat, do actually offer halal service. So it's really interesting how, you know, you can actually go to one of these Michelin star restaurants and actually book yourself halal meat.
But now you say that,
yeah, go on.
I was gonna, if they're cooking a chicken, they say the chicken's halal, but say the beef isn't, the lamb isn't.
Yeah.
Is it okay to eat a place that is going to have? How do you know what their cooking practices are? That the cross contamination and things like that.
With I mean,
we need to be concerned with that.
With seafood, you're okay, because there's nothing really najis with seafood, so you can just put it to the side. However, with carcass of dead animals, you know, that is najis. So yeah, if there's cross contamination, you will be penalized for that.
Okay.
It is haram.
So this is now reaching the outlet. Let's take a step back to actually find out from a
so
slaughtering perspective.
Indeed.
Yeah, from the beginning, so that because all of this will make sense if we understand actually the criteria of what is halal, and what makes the meat halal, and then we can understand these outlets. I think.
So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. According to Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq Shirazi, Hafadullah, he mentions 6 points in order for meat to be halal. Now I'm not going to go for which animals are halal, which ones are haram. I'm going to go through the slaughter process.
Okay.
So first of all, the person who's doing the slaughtering has to be a Muslim. And more importantly, he can't be a Nasibi. Nasibi meaning what? An enemy of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi and his Ahlul Bayt. He can't be someone who has enmity towards them. So that's the first condition. The second condition is they have to use a sharp tool, preferably a steel sharp tool, so a knife. If not a knife, then they can use another sharp object, even like a stone or a rock that's sharp enough. They can use that. The third criteria is that the front part of the animal must be facing the qibla. So front meaning like the face, the eyes, the chest, the legs should be facing towards the qibla. The person who's doing the slaughtering must say Bismillah. You have to say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. Even if you say it with the wrong intention. So let's say you are saying it because you're about to start a deed, not because you're actually slaughtering the animal. That renders it haram. It has to be with the intention of slaughtering the animal.
So is there, just on that note, is there a specific sentence that you say, for example, anwi, or like with salah, for example, anwi, asalli, salatil, whatever?
No, that's not necessary. With the knee,
or it's just the knee in the mind?
It's the knee in the mind.
Okay.
And then you go ahead with the slaughtering. Bismillah, Wallahu Akbar, or Bismillah is even fine, just Bismillah. And then you'll slaughter the animal. The other criteria is that there has to be movement after the actual slaughter.
Right.
Now, what do we consider movement? Movement of the legs is sufficient. Even the blinking of an eye. So just that is sufficient. So it can't be like stone cold dead. As soon as you've done it, it's not moving. There has to be some sort of movement. And the final one criteria is that the 4 main arteries have to be cut. It is makruh to actually take it too far or to actually sever the head.
Okay.
So you have to be it's really, really technical.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of skill and practice. Yeah. But so you've got the 4 main arteries. So it's like this. Muslim man, take the animal facing Qibla, Bismillah, near Bismillah, 4 main arteries and movement after.
Okay.
So that's how it is.
So like you said, it's
halal.
quite technical.
Very.
And while we know 6 steps, and then those who are going to be doing it will know the steps. And my mind is just racing for sort of all the criticism that we face from a Western perspective of, you know, how it's barbaric and how, you know, animal rights and things. So you said there's a sharp tool, and the 4 veins have to be just cut, and then the movement. So is that to say, you know, the sharp tool's sudden, and then it's, you know...
There's no, I mean, there is this campaign because they seem to think it's barbaric, or they seem to think that this slaughtering process brings harm to the animal, when in fact it doesn't. I mean, when you look at the mustahabat, you know, it's mustahab to actually give water to the animal. Yeah. It's mustahab to comfort the animal, to lay it down when you do it. It's mustahab to cover its eyes so it doesn't see anything. Yeah. So what we see with the lambs and goats is they have really long ears. So you'll see the butcher. What he'll do is he'll use the ears to cover their eyes. Okay. While it's laying down, he'll cover their eyes and everything facing the Qibla. And if you recite certain ayahs of the Quran, they do actually seem really, really calm. There's loads of videos available on YouTube. If you type up, you know, slaughtering halal animal, and they'll show you Muslims actually slaughtering the animals, and the animal showing no form of resistance or panic or anything like that.
So again, my mind is racing with a million questions, but with these outlets and then going to the supply chain, and the beginning of the supply chain is basically these animals being slaughtered. From what you're saying, the process sounds a bit long. How are they going to be able to make mass production of slaughtered halal chicken if it's going to be such stringent laws, but it takes time? I mean, I'm pretty sure they don't take every animal, put them down.
I mean, it's not feasible to do it in such a manner.
So how would
if you think about it, if you had like a chicken farm and you got one order for 100 chickens, are you going to be chasing 100 chickens and so forth? There are measures put in place to help with mass demand. For example, like stunning meat is one tool, you could say, that they use to, you know, make sure the chickens aren't running around everywhere, to keep them in one place and to easily help with.
But then stunning would mean that if you do slaughter the animal, is it going to be moving after?
See, that's another question. So according to the Maraja, including Sayyid Sadiq, is that if you stun the animal, is it classified as dead or not? And can we continue with the halal, the zabi process? Yeah. He has said that as long as the animal hasn't died, you may continue, and the meat is halal. There's no issues with that.
Okay, but the criteria you said that as soon as you make the incision and you slaughter, there has to be some sort of movement.
Indeed.
eyes, ears,
anything,
hands, whatever.
any form of movement. Yes.
Okay, but if the animal is stunned and as soon as you slaughter it, there's no movement after. So how does that work?
You're assuming that there's no movement.
Okay.
Have you seen a chicken being stunned or an animal being stunned?
I don't
Are the lungs still breathing? You know, they're still working.
I guess
so. There is.
Okay.
I mean, there's not to say that when you stun an animal, there's no movement whatsoever.
All right.
Stunning an animal is essentially like putting them to sleep, or just dazing them for a bit. Okay. But there is still movement. Very, very minimal.
Okay, cool.
But there is.
And that will be sufficient enough.
And that would be sufficient
cool.
enough. As we said, even the blink of an eye is sufficient. So there is issue. Though the issue actually comes with, does the animal die or not? Because if the animal dies with the stunning, then that's haram. You can't have that. You can't. And I mean, that's why we have certain halal authorities who are actually trying to put a stop to stunning of chickens, not of all animals, because we were talking before, in this country, in England, it is mandatory to stun meat.
Okay.
It is mandatory to stun meat, especially when it's a cow or a lamb. And the reason being is because sheer size, and also to do with humanity and these. You don't want to cause.
Do you think that we eat too much meat? You know, if you're saying about, there's 100 chickens, I mean, the amount we consume, do you think that there was, for the 6 steps to be taken into consideration, that's a long, it's a strenuous task.
So go vegan.
No, there's a middle ground, isn't there? We maybe should cut back.
Studies show that one of the biggest contribution to global warming is the amount of animals being slaughtered. The sheer amount of animals that we have for eating and consuming, that these farmers and
they're pumping them with hormones to
that as well. This is one of the biggest
growth.
contributions to global warming.
Global warming.
Indeed, yeah. So we are eating too much meat. It's actually damaging the world.
Wow.
And our health.
And our health. We have plenty of hadith that tell us not to
consume too much meat.
Yeah, indulge in too much meat.
There's actually a disease called it's a disease called the King's disease, gout basically.
Oh yeah,
gout. And it actually came from very interestingly. We say this. I actually got gout because I ate too much. Basically, what happened was I was at work. I had this thing where I would buy processed meat and bread and a certain type of cheese, and I'd have that for lunch every single day. I'm quite weird like that. If I stick to something that I like, I just have it every single day. And 2 months straight after that, I got this weird crystallization of a ball in one of my joints in the foot. When I went to the doctor, they said it was gout. And then I read into it, and it's actually called the King's disease because King Henry VIII, he had this all the time because he had excess amount of meat. And that's when I thought, okay, I need to go back. Number one, from processed meat, and number two, I need to change up my diet a bit. I mean, I'm literally eating the same thing every single day for 2 months.
Wow.
But yeah,
we'll
you're right.
The violins out for you.
It definitely exists.
But on a serious note,
maybe I should actually. There's many different new diets, like flexitarianism, for example, which is like the mix of meat and vegan. Not vegan. It's a mix of meat and just normal vegetables and stuff. But it's not stringent.
A balanced diet is exactly that, isn't it? It's like I remember when we were growing up, we would have vegetables in the week, and meat was something that the weekend, your family together, and it's nice. And I think every night to have heavy meals and chicken, meat. This.
My dad says now the price of vegetables have gone up so much, you might as well eat meat.
What would you say about supermarkets that sell halal? Do you think that's quite a safe
I think so. I mean, to be honest, when it comes to inquiring about halal meat, you only inquire if you're not sure if the meat is halal. So maybe you go to a place where there's no halal certificate or any indication that this is halal meat, you'd ask. Now, I think it's wise for someone to be a little cautious and also to inquire. But I believe also that there's limits to inquire. Now, according to the fiqh, the ahkam of Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq Shirazi, he says that it is sufficient for you to ask the Muslim, is this meat halal? And if the Muslim says yes, it is, that's your obligatory investigation complete, and you don't need to take it any further.
Right.
A lot of people do actually want to take it further. They'll speak to a Muslim. Oh, can I see your certificate? Or what about this? Or what about that? Is it stunned or not stunned? I mean,
the worker wouldn't know that, would he?
Indeed, the worker wouldn't know that, but I feel more it's you're kind of challenging the integrity of your fellow brother in Islam, and I think sometimes it can get a little embarrassing. But however, how bad has the world or the Muslim community got that Muslims have to ask whether the meat is halal or not?
If you think about it, I mean, there's a stringent criteria, number one. Number two, every single corner shop is now halal.
Yes.
Chicken shop then there must be some sort of questions raised as to where are they getting this meat from, and I think there is a certain and there's also a bad reputation on certain outlets, even like normal like chicken shops, just on the high street. When you actually delve into it, it's not really halal. They get it from some weird guy in Brighton or something like that, and then the whole question arises of, okay, if this person's not halal, is he getting the same meat as this person?
Yeah, the source.
And then it's just all about the source, really.
Actually, the question that we had today, and I'm going to just quickly read it because it is the topic that Ali's just raised now. Someone's written in Islam, Sayyid, I have recently moved to a new city and there are not many Muslims here. There is one halal butcher shop and I'm not sure if I can trust them or not. Is it okay to ask for their certificate and where they get the meat from? And that's somebody in London.
Is perfectly acceptable, and I would actually encourage it that if you have some sort of doubt or you have some sort, you're not too confident, then do investigation. There's no harm in it, but just be kind and be cautious that you don't want to offend anybody. Now, if you go and you ask a Muslim and you say, is your stuff is halal or not? Where do you get it from? Then maybe you could go in your own private time and Google where this outlet is or where this abattoir is and whether it's halal or not. Maybe contact the halal authorities and say, look, there's this halal shop. Is it actually halal or not? Or they get their meat from this abattoir. Do you verify that this is halal or not? This is perfectly acceptable.
What are people looking for in a certificate? So you get a stamp and it says halal.
I mean, there are many different halal food authorities, and each one has their own criteria of what is halal and not. Some I know that there's a very famous one that they do not accept stunned chicken as halal. So they want purely non-stunned chicken slaughtered in a halal manner, and they verify that as halal. There's others that will actually accept stunned chicken.
Which school of thought are they following? Are they sort of speaking for knowing that Muslims constitute such different schools of thoughts? Shia, Sunni, etc. Or are they looking at one particular?
I think there wasn't an issue of stunned meat 50 years ago. Maybe the demand wasn't so high. And I think maybe once stunning was introduced into the actual technique of slaughtering animals, even in a halal manner, and when Muslims discovered this and that, there could be some sort of issue in regards to stunning meat, I think that's when the investigation was taken. And through the study, they discovered that there is a small chance. It's not saying that it is 100%. I think it's I think it's less than 10% that the animal could actually die from the stunning before it is put to the knife.
I don't know how much time we've got left. Probably not much, but I did want to quickly cover the aspect of the spiritual impact on a person. Obviously, we're physical and spiritual. We go to a shop, we think it's halal, we're assured it's halal, we eat. And perhaps there's cross-contamination, perhaps the people that prepare it are not Muslim. How is that impacting us? Or we're unknowingly eating haram meat, thinking that it's halal?
I mean, it's a really good question because you've got Islamic law on one side and you've got spirituality on another. I mean, if you were not aware, and obviously you can't really go and investigate and have a look at the kitchen to see if people are wearing gloves or not, or they're using the same pots and pans or utensils. If there's cross-contamination, there's cross-contamination. But it's not wajib and mandatory upon you to go investigate that. What is obligatory upon you is just to inquire whether the meat is halal or not, and that is sufficient. Because Islam is a religion of ease and peace. It's not about going and questioning people's integrity and things like that. However, put that aside of what is mandatory on you and your ahkam. Let's look at the spiritual aspects. Yes, definitely there is an effect on your spirituality when you have and consume haram content. The effects can last up to like 40 days, they say.
What kind of effects can we sort of...
I mean, it impacts the soul really, and obviously it will cause things like you to become immoral. It could cause things like, I can't remember the word, we say munafiq in Arabic. I can't remember what you call it in English, but like hypocritical, that's it. Hypocritical, and other sorts of diseases of personality. Yes, depending on what you eat. And even like, you know, God forbid anyone that touches alcohol. And we know that especially in certain countries and cuisines, they do add a bit of alcohol while they're cooking. You know, that if you consume that, your prayers aren't accepted for 40 days.
But I heard that with the alcohol in cooking, it evaporates, and then depending on how much they put in, but if say it was a drop, it evaporates because of the cooking temperatures and things. So does that still apply to? What
you really need to investigate is, number one, alcohol is ayn al-najasa. So whether it touches...
I'm not justifying, I'm just, you know, just...
No, you're playing devil's advocate, that's fine. When you pour alcohol into food, alcohol is known as ayn al-najasa, it will contaminate the food around and make it najis. You'll have to refer to a scientific expert.
I'd love to spend more time on this. I think that there's so many directions we can take, especially when it comes to halal, and needs more than the specific segment. But in terms of understanding the criteria, understanding the outlets, what we can do, and especially answering the question of, for example, going into a new city or actually going to any city and asking for a certain certificate is, I think, sufficient enough. Or if you want to do your own personal investigation, which is fine. So,
just don't offend people. I think
that's the main thing. We really need to keep our akhlaq and not to disrespect or challenge someone's integrity.
So again, I'd love to spend so much time on this subject, but of course, time is of issue. So many thanks for your time today.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And for myself and Zahra, we will see you on Friday, which will be the next episode. We'll have another guest. Stay tuned to know who that is. But in any case,
I'm hungry now, actually.
Yeah, inshallah, you have a blessed day, and we look forward to seeing you very soon. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.